Welcome back, and let's start with our newspaper headlines. We'll start with the Nation newspaper. And on the Nation, we have new tax system to take effect January. Zenith Bank to exit CBN regulatory forbearance June 30. Fuss over deduction from airtime on USSD transactions. That is on page 6. And we have Benue killings. President goes hard on security chiefs. Get the criminals, says Tinubu. Aliyah seeks state police. Tortive invaders target our land. That is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And onto the Daily Times, we have Benue killings. Armed Fulani burnt 20 members of my family, says survivor. Still on Benue, Tinubu sets up elders committee, demands land for ranching, aborts visit to Yelewata. That is on page 2. And moving on, we have Israel-Iran crisis. Nigeria moves to evacuate citizens, urges end to hostilities. Nnamdi Kanu's inciting statements responsible for mass violence in Southeast, DSS witness. U.S. visa ban on ECOWAS nations threaten trade deals, security gains. Tuga. We have Zenith Bank exits regulatory forbearance, meets 500 billion naira capital target. And finally, on the Daily Times, commercial flights begin at Chuba Okadibo International Airport, Ebonyi. That is on page 9. And now to the Daily Trust. World Sickle Cell Day. Patients battle high cost of drugs, access to treatment. Bandits kill 24 farmers, others in Katsina communities. How fake agric credit providers dupe farmers. Still on Benue killings, arrest perpetrators, Tinubu orders security chiefs. And that is it for Daily Trust. And now to The Guardian. Zenith Bank assures investors of exit from forbearance obligation. River Park Estates, court restrains IGP, EFCC from alleged rights violation. World Sickle Cell Day. Carriers, stakeholders bemoan high cost of care, health insurance omission. Gowon denies prior knowledge of July 1966 counter-coup. That is on page 3. Reactions trail Tinubu's Benue visit. Land grab remark, rising IDPs. That is on page 6. And onto the Punch. Tinubu assembles top brass, ex-governors to end Benue killings. INEC fires back at coalition over 2027 party registration delay. All right, that is all for the Punch newspaper. And now to Nigerian Tribune. Zenith Bank reassures stake shareholders, investors of continued dividend payments to exit CBN's regulatory forbearance June 30. Tinubu to service chiefs, IGP, fish out Benue criminals. Visits injured victims at teaching hospital. We are facing calculated genocide invasion, Tortive tells president. Establish special intervention fund for affected communities, Aliyah urges federal government. All right, and that is all we have on the Nigerian Tribune and on our newspapers this morning. And as always, we have right here in the studio, Chris Maduka for our review. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Chen. How was your night?
It was good. How was yours?
Well, I'm still here. We give glory to God.
Yes, we do.
And today's headlines on Nigerian newspapers. I think you take the first shot.
Of course, we have new tax system to take effect January. That is on the Nation.
How we ask? Which of the tax systems will take effect in January? Is it the one that the federal government has been moving and they've been having hitches here and there, where they're talking about tax reforms? At what point has the federal government concluded the reforms and then set a date for its effect? Nigerians need to know, and that's how they will mumble on it, and before you know it, it will come on Nigerians as a surprise. I always say, because it's my constituency as a communication specialist, that we need more of stakeholder engagement, inclusion of the stakeholders in more of our decisions, and actually creating awareness of any major decisions the government is taking that will affect the people. But we find out in Nigeria that not much is being done in that regard. I'm sure most of Nigerians do not know what this, and it might all just come up in the newspapers like this. Before you know it, January will be here. You wake up, you start seeing enforcement or implementers of new tax structure in Nigeria being implemented. And many Nigerians will be like, when was this concluded? What was the agreement? The people need to know so that they set up and make up their mind to get ready for it. And of course, with such major decisions, it is important that Nigerian government will find a way of selling these ideas to the people they govern. Otherwise, they will get some lashes and pushback. But when people, they say, once you take up a flare from the body of a dog, show it to the dog. Dog, this is flare that want to kill you. I've just removed it. So that the dog won't bite you. No matter how good intentions the government may have with new tax reforms and tax structure in Nigeria, the people need to know. The media need to also buy into it so that they can help explain to the people. But that's my opinion.
Yes, and another recurring headlines in almost all the papers is the Zenith Bank to exit CBN regulatory forbearance by June 30.
If I tell you what that understand perfectly what that means, no, I must be telling you lies. Why should Zenith Bank exit CBN regulatory forbearance June 30? Is it that they've met all the conditions to be under that regulatory structure? Or is it that Zenith Bank has grown above such a regulatory structure? This is what we suggest. I'll go to what page of the Nation newspaper to look at the details, because we are only looking at the headlines. I think we'll call for the details of that. But we know that most of the regulations of commercial banks in Nigeria are not working well. The commercial banks are actually milking the people dry. There is a lot of issues. They are in connivance with the telecom organizations. And these digital transactions, they are milking Nigerians dry. They are cutting the pound of flesh of Nigerians with whatever. Because this idea of cashless society, only the banks benefit. Ucha, if I buy this cup from you, I'll pay bank for paying you. Then for you receiving the money, the bank will still take commission from you. You go to any essential good where they sell things, you bring out your card for cashless society. Immediately you finish, they've taken commission, the banks have taken money from you. And once the man you are paying, they also take money from you, so you begin to ask, what this round robin? And nobody is talking about it. They didn't even explain. All they say is cashless society is what they sell to us. But between cashless society, the built-in things that we cannot manage. And now it's heavy burden on the same Nigerians who are facing so many things. Buy 1 naira, good. Bank will take their own. Everybody It's just like anything you buy, the banks are taxing and taxing. Now, if you finish, the telecoms will tax you. USSD transaction, the deductions, they are making. Now they say they fuse over what? Because they are only fusing among themselves. If they want to refund Nigerians how much they have illegally taken from us, most of us will become millionaires. So meaning that the banks, the telecom organizations, and the system are robbing the people. And it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it is not. Now, on the Benue issue, Tinubu sets up elders committee, demands land for ranching, and aborts visits to Yelewata, which is the local government. This, incident happened.
It was good that the president had to reschedule all things he had because of his concern to go to Benue State. It was good he visited. It was good he went there and he saw people who were concerned, the stakeholders, met many of them. What was not good to me was that a visit that was supposed to be very solemn and the talk to address the fact was turned into a jamboree. One kind of mega reception that you give a president in time of peace. For not being able to go to Yelewata, which was what brought him to Benue State, that is part of the reason I tell you that the visit was turned into political, outreach, instead of really addressing the issue. There are so many things that he tried to address. It did not go down well to the last receiver of it. If President had stepped his leg in Yelewata, it would have become clear. If he returns to Makurdi and he sits, they would have arranged that as the president is dropping in the airport, that presidential jet will take him, even if it's to fly over Yelewata. He looks through from that point of view, the aerial view, and see the damage in Yelewata. No second-hand report of Yelewata will give president the real picture. That was missed. That real opportunity of our dear president to have a feel of our fellow Nigerians suffered in Yelewata was missed. And we went back to Makurdi and turned into a jamboree of a sort. That's the only thing that's missing out. For looking at that, I watched some of the address of the president. He was calling IGP Egbetoku. Why has nobody been arrested? It's an indictment of Nigerian security. He called the CDS. He was calling them by name. Christopher, what is happening? Why is nobody been arrested? Egbetoku waiting. That's what the president was saying. We give it to our president. He has good intentions. But for not reaching Yelewata, that's a minus. And then for calling the people, the remarks of the people he visited, if Tortiv, who should be one of the biggest gatekeeper of Benue people, said, some people want to take over our land. It should be taken very seriously. A lot of people we talked to, a lot of people who were on the ground that were reporting these incidents, said it is no more farmer-herders clash. That now this has blown into war of land grabbing. Evacuate, let us occupy. Overtake. There's so much word that they use there that has gone beyond a farmer, a man who is rearing cattle and is a nomadic, is moving his cattle, and somehow the cattle turn to chop cassava of a neighbor, and he said, he said, this greeting has passed the ankle level. That's a kene agago nkuaka. That means it's beyond what Nigerians are seeing and talk about. So, this is the first time the president will take such concern to visit. I wonder what stopped him from going to Yelewata. There's a viral video from Very Dark Man going around that actually got, some people felt that that was actually an exposure that even made the Pope to see the real situation. A lot of people we talked to felt that the people, the government of Benue state government, have not done enough. That they underrated the intensity of this, damage. Whatever is the case, this is about Benue killings. The president is still asking. Betoku have not answered the question. Christopher, the CDS, have not answered the question. We are waiting. If the president asks such question, it means Nigeria is looking at CDS, the chief defense, and the IGP, Inspector General of Police, if people do not know. Now, these are people that were given such responsibility. The president said, hey, just like God called Adam. Adam, where is the apple that Satan gave you? Well, your wife gave you. Did you chop it? Egbetoku, Christopher, where are the people who caused this mayhem to kill? From the report we got, more than 600 people dead. Not to talk about the ones wounded at the hospital. They went to, I don't know where the hospital that the president, we saw in the front page of newspaper, which of the hospital, meaning that people who were wounded must have been taken to several nearby hospitals. But he visited maybe one. And then we come presidential ceremonial, president would have touched his leg on Yerawata. So that whenever this issue is being discussed, he can beat his chest and say, I was there, I saw it live. Because when another man's corpse is being carried, it will look like it's a log of wood. May God forgive Nigeria.
Okay, and moving on, another interesting headline. Nnamdi Kanu's inciting statement responsible for mass violence in Southeast.
Yes, a witness said, yes. You can say that. But we are saying that if you want to stop a fight, first of all, stop the push. What made Nnamdi Kanu to make some inciting statements? Nobody is talking about it. If you want to, if you want to shave the head, also shave the mustache. Do not attack Nnamdi Kanu's issue by statements he made. And whether he said this today or said, what is happening is that there must be something. Nnamdi Kanu is coming from somewhere. He is saying something. Something is, blood is flowing in him. There's something is eating. There's a water is drinking. There's air is breathing. Something is powering that. Something. Look at them holistically. Don't come as a witness. Does the witness know what Nnamdi Kanu suffered? When he is in the house, his father and his mother were killed and the army attacked. Have the government addressed that? If there are certain things people will say to you, you will make inciting statements. I'm not justifying Nnamdi Kanu, but I'm saying issue of Nnamdi Kanu should be handled holistically. Let's not pick it. A witness said inciting statement. If what happened to Nnamdi Kanu happened to this witness, he will not only make inciting statement, he will sing inciting songs. I've said it. Once something is happening to another man, it sounds like, if you feel what Nnamdi Kanu is feeling, you will make inciting statement. So let's not you give dog a bad name to murder it. If federal government want to leave Nnamdi Kanu and release him, which everybody is calling, has federal government know that continuous incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu is also causing problem in Southeast? So are you using with two wrongs make a right? If he makes such a statement, the crisis is rising, you hold him, crisis is rising more. Which one is more? It's for them to weigh. If they love the people of Southeast Nigeria, it's high time the issue of Nnamdi Kanu will settle. And they will know actually whether we are going forward or back. Like they say in Igbo land, what is all this put on push and pull, and then somebody will go there and start telling this thing that has happened in the recent past continues in the recent future. It has not been. So take a decision. Let's know whether continuous holding of Nnamdi Kanu if you release him, check. That's how policies are made. You take experiment, review it. If releasing him bring a cut down on the crisis in South, because there is crisis in Nigeria. It's not a monopoly of Southeast. So, if that we're holding Nanikari is also escalating the one in Southeast, look at it if you love Southeast and release him whether you come down. What the government can do, Dibiada Agwa and Elios, no native doctor will cure that nobody will die. The only native doctor, he only cure in between. So, and that's how I don't know how to explain it. Go outside, go consult the dictionary, will tell you. No native, no doctor, even the Orthodox, will cure that nobody will die. So, if you want to do balancing act, balance. Anybody in governorship, in a rulership, position of authority, we always use balance, because if you cut the meat, you put it on the side of bone. Cut the bone, put it on the side, then you balance. That's how this nation will be ruled. If you make it to tilt, which is already tilted, and what part of Nigeria is crying every day of marginalization, why has nobody? It happened in Benue. People are saying they were being killed, and one village lost over 600 people in one day. And you saw if you see the videos, that's only when the president went there. Must we get to that level before we look at issues? They say water is rising, flood is coming, it's on your knee, you are laughing. You get to your waist, you are laughing. When you get to your throat, that's when you start. Let it not be a portion for Nigeria. Let's move on, Uche. All the Tinubu visit to Benue has been covered.
Yes, and we have World Sickle Cell Day, patients battle, high cost of drugs, access to treatment, health insurance omission, high cost of care.
Uche, I will tell you, there is pain people go through in this world. I am a witness. If you have a sickle cell patient as a daughter, a son, a relation, father, mother, you will never wish your greatest enemy in life to have such experience. To manage these patients. Now, everybody, we've talked about every other drug. Some people are saying the cost of drugs for treatment or so many things. But now that they are doing sickle cell day, the people, mostly the people managing these patients, are crying out to manage a sickle cell patient. It's something you would. So I plead with the federal government, the Ministry of Health, whatever policy they are making, let them also include, probably they will reduce the tax and all that on sickle cell drugs, so that at least it will come down a little. Because with the high cost of things all over the world, nobody is talking about that area. And we have a lot of sickle cell patients in Nigeria, and they have right to life, and we need to also care for them. Yeah. If not anything, using this opportunity of World Sickle Cell Day. So we are also crying with you. Our heart goes with you, for you parents and relations that manage sickle cell patients. It is not experience you wish. If you see a sickle cell patient in pain, your heart will go off. So that's it. Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
Then another interesting headline on The Guardian: Gowon denies prior knowledge of July 1966 counter coup.
It's Gowon's word against us. If Gowon said, I do not know, as a statesman, a respected one for that matter, with all his experience and all, he's not an angel. He is the only God. We look at his the final judgment and where he's good and bad. But as a people, we look at him as he has tried his own bestest. But if he come out at the age of 90 and said, I do not know about certain things, he's not in position of anybody to say. Let Gowon and his conscience fight it out. At the point he's at the point of what he called rounding up. So we believe that everything he says, for good or bad, will be tarred with his bones. And that's like Julius Caesar said. Whatever Gowon says or does now, we go with him beyond all he has done, all the other 90 years of his life. These last days of him, I'm not wishing him death, but as somebody at that level to be 90, he is counting down. There are so many things he begin to. He's not in his position now to begin to deny, I said. What he should be doing now is to start looking back and say, mend it this way. I made a mistake here. Let's put this play right. I have not done it right. I'm not telling him what to do. He has special advisors, medical, even psychologists and people who work with him that can tell him. But I know he's a respected man and he knows his onions. He knows what to do. If he's sure he's not aware of that, well, we give it to him. We cannot count him. He's an elder statesman. A very big one for that matter.
Yes. And before we go, U.S. visa ban on ECOWAS nations threatens trade deals, security gains. On the Daily Times.
I've seen in other places where they say that visa ban might include Nigeria, but everything that once he touch the eye, once the eye is affected, he knows. So anything that touch any African countries and the nearby West Africa will also affect Nigeria. If the visa ban, what is Nigeria? What do we have? That's why we always at the cap. I am begging. We don't have anything that gives us what we call heavy or very high profile in the international chessboard of international trade. We are always disadvantaged. That's why when America sneezes like this, everybody is catching cold. It is a visa ban. Everybody is already talking about it. Even when Trump has not remembered Nigeria, because whether you catch cold or not, if Trump remember Nigeria, he would you know his style. He will just sign visa ban against Nigeria. He will not do it like this. He's always very proud of his signature when he makes all those presidential signings. So let's look at what will happen. It's just we only envisaging. If to be forewarned, to be forearmed. Now that we know that he might, what are we doing? It's not just to review the newspaper. Now that we know the visa ban might affect Nigeria, international trade, or whatever way it will affect us, what is there for us to do? Are people who are supposed to take decision to get us out of that doldrum, economic doldrum, sitting somewhere drinking whiskey and coffee, are they thinking ahead so that they place us? Have you watched a game of draft? Or you don't watch game of draft? There they do what they call 7 plans ahead, you know, Itiokwe, Iliokwe. So now that's what they do in the internet, the pawn, the chessboard, you know about chess, how the moves and counter moves. If your opponent is moving, you are calculating and know what move you make. But in Nigerian situation, it is not obtained, Uche. You will be here. The talk say flood will come. Flood will come and carry people in Nigeria. We only do face mending. They will tell you that rainstorm will come. They will tell you that some people have intelligence that terrorists will attack. They will be here and they will attack and kill people. God
all right, thank you, Chris Maduka, for your review. You're always very passionate about this.
What we do is only nation Nigeria that's ours.
Yes. All right, that is it for our review this morning, and we'll go right into our conversations after this timeout.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.